How are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good.
Thank you for accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
Yeah, no problem, brother.
So I thought to introduce you to my audience.
Okay. Do you want me to introduce myself?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Jonathan McGill Ortiz. I'm a recent college graduate. I work for this company called Twin Networks. My official title is system engineer, but I do a little bit of everything: networking, data center management, networking monitoring, a little bit of everything. So yeah, it's a little about me and what I do.
So you mainly do data center management.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So physical data center.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
right now I'm working mostly on like virtualization and converting from hypervisor to hyperconvergence. I don't know if you know of anything about that,
I
but
know.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
Yeah, okay. But basically, yeah, we're trying to simplify virtual machining. Basically, in the past, there's been a hypervisor that connects to a compute unit that connects to a storage unit, and there's this new technology called hyperconverse. That's what I'm working on, and it combines those three components into one physical infrastructure, which is basically what I'm doing. So yeah.
So as a system engineer, what you do?
I'm sorry. What was that?
As a system engineer, what do you do?
Oh, okay. So my official job is to make sure that the IT infrastructure that I support is working properly. But also making sure that it's up to compliance. For example, we work with healthcare providers and businesses that need to make sure their data is protected and certain compliances are met. Um, and then also making sure that technology is up to date. So um, a lot of companies are moving away from like physical compute units, physical computers, because a lot of their employees are working from home. So new technologies like hyperconverse is something that we're implementing pretty much everywhere to make sure that companies have computers that their employees can use from home.
So I heard about hypervisor, but I'm first time I'm hearing about hyperconverse.
Okay. You want me to explain to you what hyperconverse is?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so there's a company, one of the biggest companies in the hyperconverse infrastructure. It's called Scale Computers. So hypervisor is basically a VM monitoring software. VMware makes a version of hypervisor called VMM, um, and that allows you to control your virtual machines that are installed on a physical compute unit. What a hyper converged system is so VMware sells the licensing software for the hypervisor, right? A hyper convergence packages the hypervisor, the compute unit, and the physical storage array all in one. So it's basically an all in one system. And Scale Computers, they basically invented hyperconverse, which is being used across the industry now. And one of the cool things is it's a cluster system. So you have these mini computers basically. To make a cluster, you have three of they're called nodes, and they come together to create a cluster. And these clusters are basically what controls your hyperconverged system. So yeah, that's what I do.
So after graduation, you entered into the job as a system engineer.
No, no, actually, I did help desk support. Basically, I worked in another IT company where I helped people with their computer issues. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago actually I moved into the system engineering role, where I do more build outs and network monitoring and configurations and stuff like that.
So now you're working on cloud.
Yeah, basically that's what I do. It it's like a physical cloud infrastructure for um, these companies so that their employees can use at home, basically.
Okay. So employees who are working right now from home,
Hmm.
they are using this technology.
Yeah, so we have basically one of our clients. They use a Citrix hypervisor that we're trying to convert to a hyper converged system because it's cheaper. It's also more scalable. So yeah, in my opinion, I think the industry is going towards hyper converged systems, which is like an all-in-one, all you can eat, like whatever, you know.
So before this, what you did before since
Uh,
system engineer?
so I was a student. I worked in help desk IT for like 6 years, basically while I was in school. And then after graduation for about a year, I worked as just a help desk guy. I moved my way up, learning new technologies and how to adapt in basically the pandemic, right? I kind of built my niche on cloud computing and how to integrate virtual machines into home office systems. So yeah, that's how I got my new job.
So how much time you took to understand the technology and come into this?
I it took me a while. I did a little bit of research. Basically, so when I started in the workforce, it was in the middle of the pandemic, right? So a lot of companies were trying to move their employees to remote systems, but a lot of the times they didn't have the physical infrastructure available for that. So my boss at the time was kind of like, just learn the technology. We'll see what we can do and how we can implement it. And that was about a 2 to 3 month period of me learning VMware and other different type of hypervisors, like what is the Windows equivalent? I forget, but basically learning VMware and then introducing myself to hyperconvergence, which is the thing I'm most interested right now.
As a system engineer, is it important for you to know the coding?
Um, Not necessarily. It's good to know, for example, a lot of the Cisco networking, like command, basically. But a system engineer doesn't really need to know how to code. It's a good asset to have, right? You want to know, um, basically, if you need to go into like putty and build out a switch using like a Cisco whatever, then it's good knowledge to have, right? To know how to code. But I wouldn't say it's strictly necessary because I don't come from a coding background. I actually graduated with a degree in mathematics, so I didn't really know how to code. I know how to do some network configurations using um, putty and coding and stuff, but I wouldn't say it's strictly necessary to know how to code.
So you said you also work on networking.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's mostly cloud-based stuff. So have you heard of Cisco Meraki?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Cisco Meraki is one of the products that my company uses now. Um, it's it's very intuitive. It's mostly web-based GUI stuff. So you don't really need to know networking that well to understand how to do it. Which is why I say you don't really need to know how to code to be a system engineer.
So data center management, the physical data center management.
Hmm.
So what will be there in the data center?
Um, so if you're looking at a traditional like rack system, there's usually the top layer is your switch. So you have a switch with 48 ports or however many ports, and then under that, um, it's basically preference, but you have the switch, the router, and then you have the compute units, which is like the servers. I mostly work on that portion of the rack.
Okay.
And then but I also do UPS monitoring. So that's the battery backup systems on the data centers. So yeah, that's basically you have the network switches, the routers, the servers, and then the UPS is at the bottom usually.
which means the compute device and the backup device and the connectivity device.
Hmm. Yeah,
Right.
that's everything. That's usually how a rack is. Yeah.
So, what is the size of the data center that you work?
So um the the data center I work in, it's a pretty secure base. It's there's about, I would say, per room there's about 50 racks in the room, and there's 3 floors. So you just it's a pretty big data center. I work on the first floor of this data center,
Okay.
um, and I only have access to 3 racks. But basically it's a shared space, so people rent out the rack space, and
Okay.
yeah, but my company, we rent out 3 racks there.
Okay. Your company is providing what service it is providing?
So the I work for an IT company. It's called a managed service provider. So we provide anything IT related to anyone, basically. We provide. So that's networking, that is desktop support, that's computer, that's server support, server infrastructure, build outs, pretty much anything IT related. My company deals with.
So you are into mathematics. What made you to come into this IT?
Well, so in undergrad, I did a lot of student employment while I was in college and university. And most of the employment opportunities that I had available to me were help desk IT support stuff, right? So I familiarized myself with IT support. And it kind of was just like a natural transition from graduation, because ultimately my reasoning to do mathematics was because I wanted to um, be a teacher, but I kind of put that on the back burner because I found opportunities in IT easier, like to find basically. Um, so yeah, and then I just got a job in IT, and that's what I've been doing for last 6 months ish, full time.
And it is very easy for you to understand the programming languages because all are about mathematics.
Yeah, yeah, it's an easy transition. Yeah.
I'm an IT guy. I did a master's in software engineering and I'm doing this
Oh,
degree.
nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice. Are you still doing software engineering?
I've done my studies. I got job in Canada, so I'm moving maybe in
Mhm.
1 or 2 months. I'll be a IT
Oh,
director.
nice. Oh, nice, nice. Congrats, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's cool.
So this is just knowing, connecting with the tech people and understanding the jobs that they are doing and the responsibilities that they have.
Yeah. Well, if you ever need help with hyperconvergence, let me know.
Okay.
I'll be your guy.
I'm preparing for this AWS solution architect also in the
Hmm.
meanwhile. So I in the basic in the fundamentals I came to know this hypervisor we will install on the data center. So that's how I understood that word.
Hmm.
I the technical word I
Yeah,
understood that
yeah,
hypervisor. Then you came with this word hyperconverse. I have to do the research now after
yeah,
you saying.
yeah. It's hyperconvergence is a new. It's not new. It was coined in 2008, but it's starting to be adopted more readily, and I think it's hyperconvergence is the future, basically, in my opinion.
Okay.
But yeah.
So how many? I mean, who are using this hyperconverse?
Um. So right now, it's the way we build it out. We tailor it to small to medium sized businesses, just because it's very scalable, right? So you can buy a hyper-converged system for which is the server, storage, and the hypervisor for around $5,000 to $6,000, which it sounds a lot like a lot of money, but in reality, for those 3 components, that's not very expensive. So small to medium sized businesses can buy the initial 3 node cluster for about that much, and then as they scale, they can just add nodes, right? So you add a node, which is probably $500-600 in 2 years. In 3 years, you add another node. in 4 years you add some more storage. So it's very scalable. So small to medium sized businesses are really the target demographic for hyperconvergence.
So how much amount of data can a data center can store?
Um, it depends, really, right? It's kind of like unlimited, if you think about it. But so the data center I work in, and the 3 racks I work in have a total of, I want to say, 10 petabytes of data. So that is, what is that? 1,000 terabytes times 10. So
Yeah,
10,000 terabytes.
yeah.
Yeah. So those are just the 3 racks that I work in. But there's we have, I want to say, 6 clusters times, each one of those clusters has like 7 nodes. So that's a lot of servers basically in those 3. 6 times 7, whatever that is, that's how many servers are on that, are in those racks. And yeah, around 10 petabytes of data is those 3 racks. And I guess if you scale that, right, it's 50 racks in that room. That's a lot. So that's 500 petabytes in that room times 3, 1,500 petabytes per data center, roughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if there is more VMs installed on on that data center,
hmm
or if more VMs are getting uninstalled, so how this scaling happens?
Oh, okay. So that the it's actually really cool, right? So let's say on this hyperconverged system that we have, and we have a VM that's on a node like node 2, right? You add a node and you want to move that VM. It's literally just drag and drop. You move it
Yeah,
over, and like 2 seconds, it's on that new node.
yeah,
So it's like it's very seamless, almost no downtime other than the rebooting of the VM. So it's pretty cool, and that's why I've only used Scale. So Scale Computers is the hyperconverged that basically started hyperconvergence. And that's the only software I've used. But I'm sure there's more. And in the coming months, I'm sure bigger companies are going to start creating their own version of hyperconverged.
okay. Who created this
Oh,
hyperconverged?
Scale Computers actually coined the term hyperconvergence. And that's the company that we buy our stuff from, our
Okay.
hyperconverged computers. So, yeah, and they're great so far since I've been testing them and using them.
So what are the problems that you see, the common problems that you see and that you solve?
Okay, so um, basically it's a lot. So again, I talked about this transition from workers working from in the office to home. And a lot of the issues we've seen is people not being in the office. So they cannot, for example, we have a lot of closet data racks basically, right? You put a data rack in a broom closet somewhere, and a lot of the times the employees would call us saying that there's a beep or there's something happening in these servers or the UPSs or whatever. And because that was just how the company operated, once people moved from home, we didn't have that. No one could call us and tell us, oh, the server is beeping or whatever, right? So a lot of the times I had to put in place these monitoring systems using software like, I don't know if you've heard of Aavik, but Aavik is a network monitoring software that uses a protocol called SMNB, which stands for Simple Network Monitoring Protocol. Um, and I put these in place to make sure that we don't actually need a phone call from a customer saying that their server room is beeping. We actually get notifications that might lead to um, us figuring out an issue before it becomes an issue, you know? So I don't really deal a lot with the customer service portion anymore. I deal more with putting systems in place to add redundancy and monitoring. Yeah.
So these monitoring softwares will let you know, you will get a notification that some problem in that particular server, so you fix it.
Yeah, exactly. So like so we use a combination of softwares. One of them is called Avic Network Monitoring, and then we use PagerDuty. So Avic Network Monitoring is what actually makes the alerts. So we connect the servers and whatever is connected to uh, the physical rack to the Avic Network Monitoring. That creates an alert, and then that alert gets sent to PagerDuty, and it's pretty cool. They actually give us a call, like an automatic robot says, "Oh, server X is down," or "Server X is experiencing malfunctions," blah blah blah. You got to do something about it, right? And that's the system that I put in place.
So what is the problem that you face that you never saw before?
Um, okay, so just recently, right? I came from a very small IT company before this recent one, and we didn't have the resources that this company does. So we used a lot of like not consumer grade equipment, but lower end prosumer grade equipment. Like I don't know if you've heard of Ubiquity.
No.
Okay, so Ubiquity is a networking component manufacturer, I guess. They make routers and switches, and their stuff is very inexpensive. It's it's very easy to use. So moving from a company that uses more expensive stuff and stuff is harder to use, I had to like kind of adapt myself to learning newer, basically better technologies. I had to adapt, you know. So that was a little learning curve starting this new job.
So you don't operate systems, or you don't operate you have nothing to do with the laptops or computers coding.
Not 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 no not really. I'm more on like the server side of things. Like I
Okay.
build servers, networks, stuff like that.
So do you like your job?
Yeah, man, I can't complain. Like I came from doing IT help desk work and dealing with basically customer service all the time to just being in a data closet programming some servers. It's I can't complain. I get to learn a lot, especially on the job. I'm learning about all these new cool technologies like hyperconvergence and I get to work with this cool guy, my boss called Chris Brown. So yeah.
So what are your future plans? What you wanted to do?
Um I don't know, man, cuz this was kind of the goal for me at least was becoming a system administrator, which is kind of what I am. My title is system engineer, but I'm basically a system administrator. Um, I guess just learning more, making sure I'm adaptable to new technologies, learning the new technologies, and finding ways to implement these technologies that help businesses, basically.
So Jonathan, can I call you as a system administrator who works in data center, physical data center?
Yeah, that's basically what I do. Yeah.
Okay, I'll put this as title for this clip.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, you are from?
I'm from Connecticut. I live in the United States. I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut, but my ethnicity, I'm Puerto Rican. So I was born in Puerto Rico.
Okay, thank you, man. It's your lunch time, but still, you gave me your valuable time to me to interview you and tell
Yeah, no problem.
something about to my audience.
Cool. Thank you, man. I'll look forward to watching this video. So yeah.
So, at last, have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
I scrolled through your Instagram actually, and I saw the videos. That's why I was interested in doing the interview because they just looked interesting, and I thought it was be cool to explain what I do.
So I do actually videos with all the. Just now, I did a video with a person who works as a solution architect, AWS
Mm.
cloud solution architect. Just now, I completed that video. When you said
Yep.
11:30, I completed that 10:30. So he
Oh,
was
nice.
telling about the architecture, the cloud architecture, the services that they use.
Yeah, that's cool.
So what do you say about me talking about all these people?
Well, I think it's cool, man. I think it's a cool project you're doing, like learning about different technologies. Like I'd love to learn more about AWS and implement it more because, dude, I just read like this statistic that like 30% of the internet or something runs off of AWS, and I'm like, that's a lot of the internet. Basically, if you think about it, the internet is huge, and
Yeah,
if 30% of the internet is run off of this one service,
yeah,
that's huge. That's a lot. So yeah,
yeah. So thank you, Jonathan. Keep going, keep doing what you love, and be happy.
we'll do, man. Thank you. Have a good one. All
Can
right.
I can I can I put this video and audio clip on my YouTube channel, social media, internet, podcast, website, everywhere with your permission?
Of course. Of course, man. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good one, bro.